Welcome back to the Motivated Mind Zone. Glad to have you here. Okay, I want to start today by throwing you right into a feeling. That specific, horrible, high-stakes moment of dread. You know the one. Your hand goes to your pocket, maybe your jacket, in the other pocket. And that thing, the thing that basically guarantees you can function in the world, your wallet,
Hmm.
it's just gone. And we're not just talking about cash here, are we? It's the whole logistical nightmare. No ID, no credit comes, the pure existential terror of, ugh, having to go to the DMV.
It's that sudden, sharp feeling of vulnerability, yeah. And our deep dive today, it really centers on a photographer who felt exactly that panic. But not standing still. He felt it while literally moving away from the solution at, what, 500 miles an hour?
Exactly. Our source material paints this incredibly vivid picture. It puts us right there, seat 1B, flight 394 leaving Denver, headed to Fresno, California. This was February 4th, 2020. And the photographer, he describes looking down at this, like, simple bottle of water he'd bought at an airport shop maybe less than an hour before. And seeing that bottle just triggers this gut-wrenching lightning bolt. His wallet, still sitting right there on the shop counter, back in Denver. And he's currently flying. Well, in the exact opposite direction.
So yeah, he had this pretty unique and frankly completely unenviable chance to spend the next 75 minutes of his flight very consciously, very physically moving away from his security, his ID, his money.
Uh,
That feeling of, helpless momentum, knowing your whole logistical life is basically spiraling away behind you. It's
yeah.
such a powerful metaphor, isn't it, for external chaos just pulling you away from any kind of internal peace.
It really sets up the core tension beautifully because his final stop wasn't just Fresno for like a quick business meeting. He was actually heading to Yosemite National Park for a huge landscape photography conference. So imagine landing in one of the most, sublime, beautiful, kind of remote places on Earth, all set to capture timeless natural beauty. But knowing your entire identity, your wallet, is sitting unsecured, probably, in an airport terminal thousands of miles away.
Mm. And the initial instinct, the source details it, it wasn't just frantically making calls. I mean, he tried that, of course, but with very little luck initially. His coping mechanism, once he actually landed and got his rental car, wasn't logistical. It was physical.
Right.
He grabbed his camera gear, found the nearest trail he could, and just went for a long hike. He basically forced the whole wallet issue to just wait. He decided he needed to clear his head, maybe photograph something beautiful.
Yeah.
And that decision really sets up the central conflict we're diving into, this clash between external chaos demanding immediate answers and, well, internal presence sometimes just demanding a pause.
And he frames his life's work so perfectly in this context. He actually calls himself a preservationist of sorts. His mission, as he sees it, isn't just about making, pretty pictures for someone's wall. He sees photography as actually preserving these natural moments, moments that, as he puts it so well, would otherwise have been lost to time.
Yeah, preservationist.
That idea of preservation, saving a fleeting moment for the future, that's what we really need to unpack today, especially when it seems to clash with our need to just be in the moment right now.
Okay, let's delve into that preservationist view then, because I think it gives us the foundation for understanding the aha moments he has later on. What exactly is he trying to freeze and save? It's not just grand mountains, is it?
Oh, definitely not. Sure, he chases those big, sweeping vistas. The source mentions the incredible light over the Grand Teton Range, for example. But he seems just as focused, maybe even more so sometimes, on the really subtle, intimate stuff. Like, think about the solitude of just a single lone tree standing there after a huge snowstorm. It speaks to endurance, doesn't it? Stillness. He's trying to capture the story, I think, of that tree making it through.
It's a striking balance, like you said, the huge scale and the very personal, the intimate. He specifically talks about those soft, subtle pastel colors you get in what photographers call the blue hour. Those moments just before the sun actually rises
Mhm.
or just after it sets.
Oh, yeah.
Seeing those requires incredible patience, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Focused patience. You have to be willing to just sit there, often freezing cold, waiting for light that might only last, what, 90 seconds?
Hmm.
That demands real presence.
And he looks for drama too. It's not always gentle beauty. He mentions the surprising sensuality he finds in the Mojave Desert, the way shadows carve the landscape. And he also captures that really harsh duality, life and death playing out. Like the specific moment an eagle wins its meal, which means, well, the fish unfortunately loses.
Right.
It's about capturing the unfiltered truth of what's happening, whether it's messy or majestic.
And what's so fascinating here, reading through the material, is his realization that to actually achieve this preservation, he first needs to slow way down. He needs to appreciate the environment, be deeply grateful just for the access he has. He says it really clearly. The true win for him isn't necessarily getting the photo. It's found in being in that moment. The photo
Mm.
becomes almost like the receipt, not the experience itself.
Okay, but wait a second. If the goal is truly being present, being grateful for what's now, how does he square that with the physical act of, bringing a camera up to his eye? Doesn't the camera itself kind of pull you out of the experience? Doesn't it force you to think about ISO, aperture, framing? Isn't documenting for the future inherently at odds with experiencing the present?
That is exactly the tension he's wrestling with. And it's a tension that feels, well, very unique to our modern times, doesn't it?
Hmm.
If the camera is your tool, the temptation is always there to immediately switch into optimization mode. It's the mode modern life has basically trained us all to be in constantly.
Right.
If the goal is presence, being grateful for what's now, then all our modern conveniences, ironically, seem almost designed to push us towards what's next.
Mhm.
We're always looking ahead, always optimizing, planning the next step. The camera can easily become just another tool for that planning rather than a tool for, well, presence.
And this connects directly to what the source calls the digital value crisis, the sheer number of digital images out there. The ease with which anyone, literally anyone, can snap 1,000 photos on their phone.
Yeah.
It has this ability to sort of rapidly devalue the meaning of any single image.
Yeah.
When every single fleeting moment gets captured, archived, instantly shared, does the value of the original moment, the one that inspired the photo, start to shrink?
It's like this visual information overload. We're so quick to grab the image for the future,
Yeah.
to prove we were there, that we actually forget to absorb the moment because we are there.
Hmm.
We've kind of turned experience into a commodity.
Mm.
But he really cuts back hard on the idea that this has to be like a zero-sum game.
Right. He insists it's not an either situation. He calls it the yes and solution. Yes, you can be fully present, fully within the moment, attentive, grateful. And yes, you can take amazing pictures as a result of that deep immersion. But, and this feels like the absolute key point, this needs a deliberate philosophical shift first, a mental adjustment.
And here it is, the essential distillation, I think, of his whole philosophy. The shift required is moving away from taking a picture of something to taking a picture from within something.
Did I explain that difference? Of versus within.
Taking a picture of a sunset is passive observation. You're standing apart from it, documenting it. Taking a picture from within the sunset means you've allowed the whole experience, the cold air, the changing light, the silence, maybe the sounds, the sheer scale of it, to actually penetrate your consciousness before you even think about touching the shutter.
Yeah, I see.
It's the difference between just observing an event and really participating in it, being affected by it.
Okay, so to really get our heads around the kind of mental strength needed to make that shift from of to within, we need to look at patience, perseverance. The ability to really commit to the moment, sometimes for hours, seems crucial. And nothing tests that commitment and maybe belief in something you can't yet see quite like waiting for nature's most, well, unpredictable light show, the aurora borealis.
This particular story, perfectly illustrates the endurance you need to move beyond just documenting and into truly experiencing. The setting was an early spring night. He describes it as bitterly cold, incredibly dark.
Hmm.
And he was waiting for a specific, powerful aurora display that had actually been forecasted days before. The astronomical models were all pointing towards a big show.
And he'd set himself up perfectly right, found the ideal spot, north-facing, positioned strategically over a place called Mount Chikura, clear view of a deep lake below. He was anticipating getting those reflections off the water.
Exactly.
Technically, everything was lined up for success, but nature doesn't really care about our forecasts, does it? It runs on its own clock.
And that's where the real test began, the waiting game. He says about an hour into this deep freeze, all he was seeing were these, like, meager, fleeting little flickers of color. Maybe a tiny splash of green here, a hint of magenta, maybe a dull red glow way above the mountain ridge. But they were transient. They wouldn't hold. Just enough to keep a sliver of hope alive, maybe, but definitely not enough to justify the discomfort he was feeling.
Wow. The psychological battle must have been huge. He describes the air being so still and dark that the silence itself started to feel almost heavy, aggressive even.
Mm.
And the cold is just relentless, isn't it? You start making deals with yourself. You check your phone again, wondering if the forecast got downgraded or maybe you missed the timing window. He says the dream of getting that perfect, world-class shot over Mount Chikura was starting to disappear into the darkness. That's the point, isn't it? Where most people would pack up. They'd
Yeah.
rationalize, oh, forecast was wrong. Better luck next time. Go get warm.
But he stayed. His belief in the forecast, a belief that at this point had absolutely zero immediate visual evidence to back it up, it kind of forced him into this state of just enduring presence. This waiting period, it wasn't active photography, it was simply being. Enduring the cold, the dark, and holding on to the promise of the moment. He was investing hours with zero immediate return, just waiting for this celestial thing promised by some scientist far away.
And that commitment, it paid off. 3 hours later. 3 hours.
Yeah.
He describes being almost ready to finally admit defeat, throw in the towel, when suddenly the colors reappeared, and this time, they stayed.
The intensity built fast. For a good stretch, he says, 10 to 15 minutes, the light wasn't just flickering. It built, it danced, it filled the sky, intensely lighting up the lake below him. It was the spectacle he'd waited hours for. Dramatically late, but absolutely breathtaking when it arrived.
So the lesson here feels foundational to this whole philosophy of presence we're talking about. Patience, perseverance, and crucially, a willingness to commit to the forecast, to the possibility of the moment that allowed him to be fully within that incredible event.
Exactly.
And it was only because he was already present, already committed, that he could react instantly when the payoff finally came. If he'd given up on the forecast, given in to the cold or the rational doubt, he'd have missed the whole thing. The reward was totally tied to his physical and mental commitment to just inhabiting that moment.
The Aurora story really shows that commitment, that endurance. But this next story, the one about the cow-induced epiphany, this is the ultimate metaphor, I think, for the necessary shift in perspective itself. It's that profound moment when you realize the perfect thing you're trying so hard to capture might actually be the very thing you're actively trying to kick out of the frame.
Right. This starts with him hunting for that classic, quintessential, almost perfect, idyllic shot. He sets the scene for us. Stowe, Vermont. A perfect summer evening, sun's going down, clouds are turning those beautiful creamy reds, pinks, purples, the whole 9 yards.
And the composition, already perfectly laid out in his mind's eye. It sounds like something straight off a postcard, really. There's this little dairy farm way off in the distance, acres of gorgeous open meadow leading your eye towards it, and this beautiful split rail fence providing the perfect leading line right from where he's standing straight to the farm. He was mentally geared up for the ultimate Yankee Magazine moment, that nostalgic picture-perfect Vermont sunset.
It was all lining up just right, technically perfect, until the unwanted interruption arrived, bringing noise, movement, probably a distinct farm smell, and just mooing its way directly into his carefully planned scene.
The arrival was gradual at first, but then pretty decisive. First, just a couple of cows. then maybe a dozen, and then eventually a pretty substantial herd, he estimates maybe 100, all just moving slowly, deliberately, and perfectly positioned to completely wreck his meticulously planned composition.
Ruin the shot.
Right, they were smack in the middle ground, totally blocking that nice fence line he wanted.
Oh, the frustration. The conflict must have been immediate. He'd pick up his camera, try to quickly move to frame the shot so the cows weren't in it, but they were almost like mirroring him.
Yeah, it's kind of funny in retrospect.
He describes moving 20 feet left, and the cows just slowly drift 20 feet left with him. He moves right, they shuffle right. The cows were basically, maybe ironically, defining the moment by refusing to get out of the picture.
And he admits he got angry. His internal monologue was all about how these cows were actively ruining his perfect preconceived idea of the scene.
He was so locked on to the idea of the picture he'd planned, that idealized, maybe even sterile Vermont postcard, that he just couldn't see the rich, messy, actual reality of the moment he was standing in. He was trying to take a picture of a static scene when life was literally happening right there within the frame.
And this is where the lightning bolt hits him. He says it wasn't a slow dawning realization. It was sudden, crystal clear, a shift that basically changed his whole approach to photography from then on. He looked at the scene again, looked at the cows, looked at his frustration, and it just clicked. The perfect fence line. That wasn't the story.
Right.
The big empty acres of meadow? Not the story either. The cute little dairy farm in the distance? Still not the story. Even that spectacular painterly sunset? Nope, not the main story. The cows were the moment. He realized he was so busy trying to capture some idealized version of a Vermont scene, taking a picture of something he imagined, that he completely failed to take a picture from within the actual living, breathing, mooing moment. The moment was, as he puts it with this great hint of self-deprecation, literally mooing right in front of me. And his own mental rigidity, his attachment to his plan had made him too deaf to hear it, too visually narrow to actually see it.
That huge shift in perspective led to immediate, incredibly simple action. He stopped fighting the cows. He completely abandoned the sunset vista composition he'd planned. Instead, he put his camera way down low, like right down in the tall grass, getting into their world, and he took just a single frame of a young cow looking right at his lens.
And the concrete outcome. It's the ultimate proof, isn't it, of the power of letting go of the plan. He did not get his sweeping Yankee magazine moment. But that curious young cow, the one he captured from within the moment instead of trying to exclude it, she turned out to be, in his words, quite the cover girl. That single shot led directly to the photographer's very first cover photo.
Wow.
It's just this powerful, tangible affirmation that sometimes embracing the interruption, allowing for that simple shift in perspective, is the only way to get a real breakthrough. The nuisance, the cows, they became the success story.
Okay, so now we have to connect these dots, right? We started this whole deep dive with the sheer panic of a lost wallet on the flight out to Yosemite. We've learned about the need for patience from the Aurora story and the huge lesson about perspective from the cows. So, what did that wallet loss, that acute external chaos, actually have to do with the cow epiphany? How did they link up?
Well, the wallet loss wasn't just a disaster. In a strange way, it was the necessary catalyst. It's what forced the perspective shift that happened later in Yosemite. See, the photographer knew the typical routine for experienced landscape photographers in Yosemite. They're kind of notorious for it, apparently. They aggressively chased the fading light down the valley towards the west as the sun sets.
Right. They're totally focused on maximizing the outcome, getting the shot, proving they were there at the perfect moment.
Exactly. But our photographer, he couldn't chase that day. His mind was completely jammed up with the very real, very immediate crisis of having lost his entire logistical support system thousands of miles away. He had no plan, no goal for the afternoon, no photographic itinerary other than just trying to distract himself from the mess back in Denver. So he chose to simply wander, just take a random hike. deliberately trying to forget about the wallet for a bit.
And that choice, the choice to wander without a preconceived destination, without a specific photo goal, that's what opened him up to the moment, wasn't it?
Precisely. He wasn't optimizing for a particular exposure or trying to get to a famous viewpoint before the light changed. He says he had no idea where he was walking, really, no idea what he was going to see, or even where the light was supposed to be good. This forced lack of a plan, born directly out of that external crisis, it became the precondition for achieving internal presence. He stopped hunting for a shot and just started noticing what was around him.
And then the unexpected gifts started showing up, didn't they? Precisely because he wasn't actively looking for them. He describes the sunlight really low in the sky by then, piercing its way down into the famous valley, and it shone this specific, powerful spotlight onto what he calls the most perfect little cluster of pine trees,
Yeah.
making them just stand out against the shadowed canyon walls like they were the lead actors in a Broadway play, perfectly lit.
And because he was wandering slowly, present to the actual trail under his feet, not focused on rushing somewhere else, the path just naturally led him right down to the banks of the Merced River. And that's when he realized the water, which was really calm in the late afternoon light, provided the absolute perfect, flawless reflection of those intensely spotlighted trees on the far bank.
He describes it as having a terrible day. I mean, the worst kind of terrible day, right? Defined by loss and that acute logistical panic. But because he chose to wander, to seek out and find the small moments that were actually ahead of him, instead of just dwelling on the huge loss behind him, he was able to be fully within and then photograph that stunning, totally unexpected scene. The crisis forced him to stop chasing the grand vista and appreciate the subtle beauty right there.
It's such a profound resolution to that initial crisis, isn't it? The external chaos, the lost wallet. It actually forced an internal calm, a commitment to immediate presence. It proves that sometimes losing control over the logistics is the only way you can gain genuine perspective on what truly matters in the here and now.
And there's that really lovely, heartwarming final detail, too, that just cements the gratitude part of his whole philosophy. 2 weeks later, after he'd successfully done his thing at the conference, he actually shipped 2 prints of that specific Yosemite image, the beautiful reflection scene born from his panicked wandering home. He shipped them to the 2 specific flight attendants who had gone back into the Denver airport, found his wallet on the counter where he left it, and overnighted it to him.
That's amazing.
Yeah. He actually had his wallet and everything in it back in his hands before he even left Yosemite Park. Just a perfect full circle moment, finding unexpected beauty right in the middle of a logistical nightmare, and then showing deep gratitude for the human kindness that resolved it.
And that Yosemite image, the one that resulted from a crisis forcing him to stop chasing and start seeing the value in just wandering, that image remains the backdrop on his personal iPhone today.
Which is brilliant, isn't it? As an operational choice. It's not just a pretty picture, a nice memory. It serves this specific daily function for him. It's a constant reminder right there in his pocket to slow down, seek out, and live within the everyday moments that have the capacity to change your life.
Exactly.
It reminds him that the greatest shots, maybe the greatest moments in general, often arrive when you stop trying to control everything, stop planning so rigidly, and just accept the reality that's right in front of you, whether that's a herd of cows blocking your shot or a major crisis unfolding back at the Denver airport.
The synthesis feels really clear. The camera lens, for him, was simply his particular mechanism for practicing presence. The loss of control over the wallet forced the random hike. The random hike forced him to slow down and wander. And the wandering allowed the unexpected, beautiful moment to reveal itself to him, rather than him hunting it down. The profound moments, maybe they aren't always out there waiting for us to capture them. Maybe they're already in here within our current situation, just waiting for us to inhabit them fully.
So the core message then for you listening is really this. The photographer found this shift from just documenting to truly experiencing through the lens of his camera. That happened to be his tool for presence. But the invitation here, I think, is for you to find your own lens, your own daily practice, or maybe just a perspective shift that allows you to stop trying so hard to take a picture of your life and instead start living, really truly living from within it.
And if that loss of control, the panic over the wallet, the crisis that forced the unplanned pause, if that was the necessary catalyst for this photographer to stop chasing the fading light and finally see the light that was shining right in front of him, it does raise an important question for all of us, doesn't it? What small act of letting go could you maybe commit to right now? What little piece of planning or maybe worrying or trying to control an outcome? What could you intentionally drop today that might just reveal an unexpected, maybe necessary and beautiful moment in your own life?
Yeah.
Definitely something to mull over as you seek out your next incredible moment.